In today's class, we'll be talking about some questions that are repeated in JAMB examination. If you are yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, do that now so that you can get updates on my upcoming video lessons. In today's class, we'll be talking about questions that are repeated in JAMB English examination. In your JAMB exam is this question number 1. I and she are traveling tomorrow. She and I are traveling tomorrow. Which of these two questions is correct? Is it I and she or she and I? This looks confusing. We can definitely say we are traveling tomorrow, but because we want to specify, because one of the functions of a pronoun is to avoid repetition, avoid the use of nouns, or to be used instead of a particular noun. So the speaker tends to say I and she or she and I. Then out of these two pronouns, which is correct? I and she or she and I? To answer a question like this, the rule states that the first person pronoun comes at the end, while the third person pronoun comes first. So whenever you come across something like this, you should know that you bring in the first person pronoun. The first person pronoun is the speaker, which is I. It will come at the end, while the third person pronoun will come at the beginning. So in this statement, we have she and we have I and she. So the answer here is she and I. So the next question is question 2. Question number 1 also apply to this question. What makes question number 1 to be different from this question is that we have a noun, which is Amadi. Here, Amadi and I went to the stadium to watch football. Or I and Amadi went to the stadium to watch football. Amadi and myself went to the stadium to watch football. Me and Amadi went to the stadium to watch football. Which of these options is correct? Now, we all know that this is wrong. And why is it wrong? We have an objective pronoun here. An objective pronoun cannot be fixed in this column, because this column or this space is meant for a subjective pronoun. Definitely, option D is wrong. Then the other one, Amadi and myself. This is also wrong. You can't use an emphasizing pronoun in this regard. Trying to emphasize yourself, you've not mentioned yourself, you can't emphasize yourself by saying Amadi and myself. No, this is wrong. You can simply say I myself, he himself, they themselves. This is correct. But when you say Amadi and myself, that's wrong. Then the confusion is in these two options. Option number 1, Amadi and I. Then option number 2, I and Amadi. The first option is correct, because the rule that guides the first question also guides this second. The next question is question number 3. We have it as those men helped Dupe and dash. Those men helped Dupe and dash. Is it myself, B, me, C, I, D, we? What is the answer? From my previous explanation, I said we have the subject pronoun, the subjective pronoun, we have the objective pronoun. And the subjective pronoun comes before the verb, while the objective pronoun comes after the verb. So in this sentence, we have those men as the subject, and we have Dupe and dash as the object of the sentence. Then helps becomes the verb, the object, and the subject. So for us to have the correct answer in this gap, we need to fill in a pronoun that falls under the objective position. Now let's look at the option. The first option states myself, the second one me, the third I, and the fourth we. Here we can't be the answer because we is the subject, the subjective pronoun. I can't be the answer because I is also a subjective pronoun. Myself can't also be the answer. Myself can't be the answer because we are not emphasizing the subject of the sentence. We are looking for the object. Here, myself can only function as an emphasizing pronoun to emphasize yourself, like saying I, myself, they, themselves, like that. Here, we can see that me is the only pronoun that falls under the objective position. Objective position. So the right answer here is me. Sometimes it looks as if I should be the answer, but in this case, I can't be the answer because I is a subjective pronoun. Now let's read the sentence together. Those men helped Dupe and me. That is the correct answer. Then let's move on to question number 4. The Civil War. It was Dash who fought the Civil War. Now, we have a verb here. If we are to go with the normal rule of pronoun, then we have an objective pronoun here, right? But this is not the case. Whenever you have it was beginning a sentence, and you have a relative pronoun like who, the answer to this kind of question would be in the subjective case. That is, the pronoun should be in the subjective case. Whenever you have a sentence that begins with it was, and you have a relative pronoun who, then you pick a pronoun that falls in the subjective position to fill this gap. Now let's look at these options. The option letter A, they, them, their, and those. So what is the right answer? The right answer, okay, before I move on to the right answer, let's talk about the options one after the other because we are treating these options one after the other. Then we have those. It was those. No. It was there. No. It was them. Remember, them is in the objective pronoun. But what we are looking for is a subjective pronoun. Then they is the only pronoun we have that falls under the subjective pronoun. So we have it as it was they. Do you understand? It was they. So we have other examples like it was he, it was she, not it was her. Saying it was her is wrong. Saying it was him is wrong. So whenever a sentence begins with it was, the next pronoun that comes after those group of words will be in the subjective pronoun. So you have it as it was they, it was we, it was. It's a very, very simple question, but most students tend to pick the wrong answer. Mr. Johnson invited Ben and Dash to his party. Mr. Johnson invited Ben and Dash to his party. Is it Mr. Johnson invited Ben and I, or Ben and me? As we do, let's analyze the sentence structurally. We have Mr. Johnson as what? The subject of this sentence. We have invited as the verb of this sentence. And we have Ben and Dash as the what? Object of the sentence. In this case, we are looking for a pronoun that can fill in this gap, and it must be a pronoun that falls under the objective position. We have I and we have me. I is a subjective pronoun, so it can't be the answer. Me is an objective pronoun. This is the answer. Ben and me. Ben and me is the right answer, not Ben and I. Though it looks correct to say Ben and I, but in this case, you don't say Ben and I, you say Ben and me. Now, if this Ben and I comes to the subjective, Ben and Dash comes to the subjective position, then you now have it as Ben and I invited Mr. Johnson to his party. But because you have Ben and Dash at the objective position, meaning that it comes immediately after the verb, then the pronoun that must fill this gap should be in the object position. That we earlier discussed. It may have been Dash who fought the Civil War. It may have been Dash who fought the Civil War. In the last question, which was question number 5, I said when a sentence begins with it was and you have a relative pronoun immediately after that blank space, the position of that space should be in the subject. The pronoun that will fill that position should be in the subjective case. The same thing applies to question number 6. Whenever you have it may have been Dash, who, in case you come across something like this in your exam, what you have in this position should be a pronoun that is in the subjective case, not in the objective position now. So it may have been, we are looking for a pronoun that falls under the subjective case that will fill this gap. Then it may have been Dash who fought the Civil War. Now let's look for a pronoun that falls under the subjective position here. Okay, then falls under the objective position. So us also falls under the objective position. Him also falls under the objective position. The only option that falls under the subjective position is he. Then in this case, we have it as he, because he is a subjective pronoun. It may have been he who fought the Civil War. It may have been they who fought the Civil War. It may have been she who fought the Civil War. So all these are examples of pronouns that are in the subjective position. Thank you. They are richer than dash. They are richer than dash. So you can come across a question like this also. So what is the answer? In this case, when you have this word than or as, they are like showing comparison between two things or two subjects or two people, than or as. The next pronoun that comes after this word must be in the subjective position. Must be in the subjective position, the subject position. Now we have it as they are richer than dash. Or you have it as something like he is not as tall as dash. So in this case, you have the subject as the answer or to fill this gap. We have then you know, is not a subjective pronoun, it's an object. Us is also an object. Me is also an object. Then the right answer is I, because I is a subjective pronoun. Then we have it as they are richer than dash. They are richer than I. Do you understand? They are richer than I. Or he is not as tall as I. Or they are richer than she. What this means is that they are richer than I am. There is a word here, but it is not pronounced in order to avoid unnecessary repetition. We call this they are richer than I am. That is actually what the sentence is all about. But in order to avoid unnecessary repetition, we remove this am. Then whatever you are going to have here should be in the subject position, not in the object position. This am, what happens to it is what we call elision or deletion in syntax. So they are richer than I am is actually the full sentence. This is how you get to understand which type of pronoun we have in this position. Try to read it completely to the end. Even if this is not given to you, try to read it and extend it. You will be sure of the kind of pronoun to fill in this gap. But the rule still states that whenever you have than or you have as, the next pronoun that comes immediately after this word should be in the subjective position. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video and share. Then click on the notification bell so that you can get updates of my upcoming video lessons. Thank you.